Welcome back. You're watching Brand Equity and I'm Sonali Krishna. Now, Sanjeeb Chaudhuri, the Global Chief Marketing Officer of Stanchart, is a man who doesn't mince his words. Given the fact that today most agency-client relationships fall under the title of complicated, Chaudhuri is clear about the fact that in this uncertain media landscape, communication partners need to approach clients with a holistic approach instead of a myopic one. In fact, he even contends that in the backdrop of increasing conversations around return on marketing investment and accountability, the size of marketing teams have shrunk globally, and this is a trend that he sees accelerating going forward. I caught up with the man himself to take this very conversation forward. Take it away. Thank you so much for joining us, Sanjeeb. Truly a pleasure having you on Brand Equity and in Goa.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Look forward to the conversation with you.
Now that we're in Goa, Sanjeeb, and you handle, the global marketing portfolio for Stanchart, I wanted to start with, something very interesting. I believe is your belief, which is that, you believe that marketing departments will soon become leaner and leaner, and most of the marketing work will be outsourced. That's a pretty bold and dramatic statement to make. Why do you believe so?
I think we are increasingly in an era of specialization. And when you're in an era of specialization, the fact of the matter is there is only that much specialist skills you can have in any organization which is not in that business. So if we were a Google or a Facebook, we would obviously have very digital natives, a large number of digital natives on our own roles. But we are a bank. So to that extent, what we need in our marketing organization or in our communication organization is people who can manage those channels, manage the shift of consumers, understand the communication hierarchy from a financial services perspective, but not necessarily be the subject matter experts on the actual technology or the platform. That can be delivered by our technology partners, either in-house or externally. Increasingly, if you are talking of communications, they will have to be delivered by specialist communication agencies who are specialists in that digital vertical. For example, if I were to take a situation 2 years back and we had insourced a lot of online marketing people into the organization, that market position has now changed to much more of content being consumed on the mobile network, on mobile channels. They would be out of their depth because the market is moving much faster than individuals can reskill themselves. So might as well to be agile, look at options available, which is quicker, faster, and keeps us ahead of the curve.
Partnerships these days, for instance, from, let's say, the good old days when you were in FMCG to time and place we are in today, right? Just like a CMO's job today, and I mean, a CEO would be like anywhere close to 4 years, CMO 2 to 3 years maximum, and that kind of churn is happening. Partnerships today also face that same kind of churn. How do you ensure, legacy in communication?
I think the way that is dealt with is, I think the principles and the values that drive an organization, both organizations and in partnership, have to be consistent. So to that extent, personalities don't really matter. Because at the end of the day, if the principles remain constant, which they should over a period of time, I think who is occupying which seat on either side of the divide really doesn't matter.
But that's simpler said than done.
No, it is not. Because I'll tell you, I can give you case studies of organizations which I have done partnerships in my previous bank where I worked in before, and the fact of the matter is those partnerships survived well after I had moved on from that role to a different role in another part of the world, because they were stewards of that partnership who bought into the same values and principles which was accepted as an organization. So it's not a personality signing a contract with somebody on a partnership. I think that's when it becomes transactional.
Okay.
That's my belief.
But tell me, Sanjeeb, about this concept called reverse mentoring, which you all, propagate within your system.
Yep. It's a great idea to essentially make sure that individuals who are in positions of leadership, who may not be very comfortable with some of the latest concepts, whether it's in technology, whether it's in consumer behavior, because the lifestyles or the ways of work of a different generation is very different. And again, it varies by continent. What is in India may be different from Singapore, may be different from Africa or the Middle East. So what we try to do is that we try to get some of our young talent, which we keep recruiting every year, either from business schools or from somewhere else. We pick them up if they are keen to do it, and we actually join them with a senior leader just to spend time talking about, what is the lifestyle today of a young person, and therefore how does he or she interact with Facebook. So this mentee, the mentee is the older person, the mentor in this case is the younger person, he or she really talks about what is it that they do in terms of, for example, multi-screen multitasking, which is a unique experience for a lot of people from a different generation, that when I see a TV reach number of 97%, if the mobile penetration number as I see is 67, 97 is better than 67. Please explain to me what am I missing? And you are still telling me I should advertise on mobile. Fact is, TV is on in the background. Like in the early days, radio was on in the background. So in a readership survey, you said radio is on 99.9%. But I have the capability today to look at multiple screens.
Sanjeeb, how big is Standard Chartered betting on mobile marketing?
Big time. Mobile is it, especially in Asia, where we were discussing some statistics in the past. The penetration per se is huge. In the past, people felt these were all feature phones, but the smartphone penetration, because the price barrier has dropped so materially, with the local brands being available, the Indian brands, the Chinese brands, that number will be in the hundreds of millions. It's already 125 million. So the capability of what you can do with your phone is phenomenal. Globally, I think, I would say more than half now is going into digital. And within that, a disproportionate share is going into mobile.
Oh, really?
Which is a big pivot.
Okay.
We were close to zero digital 3 years back.
Sure. Sanjeeb, how behind the curve, and I'd really appreciate if you're candid on this one, how behind the curve are we when we talk about India in terms of its digital agility and acceptance, and the marketing and advertising fraternity, who in terms of their acceptance and allegiance to the media?
I can see in India today, there are categories which are ahead of the curve.
Such as?
Even compared, for example, mobile phones. The kind of products and services we are giving on mobile phones in this country today, when I go to the US, I sometimes feel that they are generations behind us. So that's an example. On some financial products, if I look at a market like, say, Africa, and that has come into India also, some of the person-to-person payment capability. I don't have a bank account. Assume you don't have a bank account, but I need to pay you money for services rendered. The capability to do that is not there in the developed markets because they don't need it. But it is needed here because many hundreds of millions of our consumers do not have bank accounts. So we are innovating. And one thing I can tell you about India, irrespective of what others say, we have an enormous capability to leapfrog. So we don't have to follow the traditional, cycle that from, laptop we have to move to iPad to mobile.
We actually have skipped that phase.
Of course, we leapfrog.
Straight to mobile.
We regularly leapfrog.
Well, that's a very optimistic view. But give me a sense of how the external world, outside of India, looks at us.
I think there are two views of it. Okay. One is you can be restless why things are not moving faster than it is. Right. The fact of the matter is, having lived in this country and then seen it from the outside, and also seeing many other countries and the pace at which they move, a country of India's magnitude will take a certain amount of time. It's like moving a battleship versus moving a boat.
Sure.
It takes time.
On that note, thank you so much, Sanjeeb. This
My
is
pleasure.
truly a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
And we should definitely do this again.
Thank you.